golly gee. One CNN poll and the Democrat Socialists are in full crack up. Listen to the message that Serpent James Carville has for these snotty 26-year-olds. He comes across as a bit of a snotty 26-year-old himself.
If they get a hold, there will be no government left. There will be no rights left. You'll live under theocracy. You'll end up with Christian nationalism. But that's all right, you little 26-year-old. You don't feel like the election's important to me. They're not addressing the issues that I care about.
Wow.
Hey, Jim, have
Relax,
Mary fix you a
man.
cocktail. You know, take a break.
A little
Hey,
unhinged
Just
there?
a follow-up question. Since we've been here before, the left seems to forget this. We had a President Trump. We had Republican control of Congress. Why didn't the theocracy come then? Why didn't the government dissolve? In fact, government spending increased. Government kept expanding rather than dissolving. And, the rights that were stripped. What, you mean the invented rights you have for people in this country illegally? Those rights? Or I'm a bit confused. It'd be fun to have a conversation with Serpent Head, but he just likes to rant and make snide comments from the comfort of his own home on social media.
Getting a little cranky there, huh?
But it's not just him. Nancy Pelosi took time away from day trading to appear on MSNBC with Katie Tur.
And she attacked Katie Tur.
Katie Tur, like Keith Olbermann, gal pal,
Well, yeah, they did date.
MSNBC, new propaganda reader. I mean, not exactly a Trump loyalist, but hey, this is not the time for any pushback.
And Joe Biden is doing that, created 9 million jobs in his term in office. Donald Trump has the worst record of job loss of any president. So we just have to make sure people know.
That was a global pandemic.
He had the worst record of any president. We've had other concerns in our country. If you want to be an apologist for Donald Trump, that may be your role, but it ain't mine. And he has the
think that
worst.
anybody can accuse me of that.
Hey, you
Wow.
watch yourself, little lady.
Wow.
You watch yourself. Isn't this great?
Oh, my
It's fun.
goodness.
It's fun amid a lot of other things that are unfun. You got to take the joy where you can find it. Ron Johnson is a Republican United States Senator from Wisconsin, of course. He joins us now. Senator Johnson, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Morning, guys. Hope you're doing well.
You too. The left doesn't seem to be mentally. They're a little touchy. They don't like the polling numbers, I suppose, that are being bandied about.
Well, I don't take too great a comfort in that. You know, these elections, 2022 should have been a blowout. 2024 should be a blowout. I don't know how bad it has to get. I don't know how much of the radical left agenda needs to be exposed, and that's really what's happening on college campuses today. The radical left agenda is being exposed before a large majority of Americans open up their eyes and realize these people are out to destroy our country. They have nothing positive to offer. They do nothing to build things. They just know how to destroy things. And that's pretty much the definition of the Democrat Party. Look what they're doing in terms of our border. The border security used to be a bipartisan issue. Back in 2006, a bunch of Democrats, including Biden and Obama and Hillary Clinton and Chuck Schumer, voted for the Secure Fence Act. Now they all want an open border. And I asked Secretary Mayorkas in a hearing the day after Schumer just dismissed his impeachment hearing, I asked him, why did you do it? Why do you want open borders? And, of course, he just disagreed with the premise of my question. So these people are infuriating. But, again, I'm not going to take any comfort in any poll until we actually win in 2024.
Oh,
we have to win in 2024.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's far from over. These are snapshots in time, but it is interesting that the anxiety that is clearly evident on the other side. Speaking on the border and migrants, the situation continues to devolve, particularly in the areas that are getting hit the hardest, like the San Diego sector. And I saw a report that San Diego Airport now has given illegal immigrants their own line through the security checkpoints because they don't have any documentation verifying who they are. It's really something to watch the videos of Americans waiting in a security line to present their ID and go through, and then people in this country illegally also going through, but without the same security requirements as Americans.
And of course, a lot of these illegal immigrants are military-age men. We know what's happened down the Darien Gap. We have all these non-governmental organizations who the American taxpayer funds are coordinating this invasion of our nation. Camps set up specifically for Chinese military-age men. So we're of these young men from countries that are adversarial to America, and we just let them in. And like I said, they don't have to pass the same type of screening we have to pass. The goal last time I was down the border, according to the Biden administration, imposing on Customs and Border Patrol is to encounter, process, and disperse within 8 hours. So that's a really good vetting process. And of course, the Biden administration mandated vaccines for Americans, for our finest among us in the military, but just waved through illegal immigrants who knows what kind of antibiotic resistant diseases they may be waving through. Again, this is a debacle. It's a catastrophe. But by and large, mainstream media is not covering this the way they should.
I know, it's like they've become bored with it. I mean, I used to live in El Paso, Senator, and people used to come in, a few people a day, maybe some, downtrodden without shoes on. And now I'm seeing people with Gucci bags, Louis Vuittons, neck pillows, Beats headphones, and a phone coming over from China, very well dressed. And these people, why? I mean, what are they seeking asylum from?
Well, they want to come to America for what America offers. Most of them, they're coming here for opportunity, but some of them are here to create mayhem. There could be potential terrorists in the ranks, sleeper cells. I mean, that's what's so unbelievably risky about what the Biden administration is doing and what the mainstream media, by and large, has been covering up. It's not like they've gotten bored and stopped covering it. They just never really covered it until, mayors like Mayor Johnson in Chicago, Mayor Adams in New York, realized their sanctuary cities are going to get overrun by this massive invasion, and they started squawking about it. The mainstream press had to start covering it, but again, didn't cover it the way they would have covered it had this been under a Republican president's watch.
Well, not only is it ongoing and uninhibited, they're looking to increase the flow. At least some of them are, the members of Congress I'm talking about, speaking of what we're seeing on college campuses. Against the backdrop of what we're seeing on college campuses and what we know has happened in Gaza, Jamal Bowman, Fire Marshal Jamal there in the House, offered this. Take a listen.
Should the United States bring in people from Gaza?
Well, we are a land of immigrants, and we are a land of asylum seekers. Anyone escaping persecution and oppression and violence, the United States has always been an open home to those people. So whether they're coming from Palestine, Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, Mexico, Haiti, they're coming here to contribute to our economy, which 99.9% of them are. We've always been a place to open our doors to immigrants coming here. So yeah, fully support that, and also fully support amnesty for the migrants who have been here for quite some time.
So resettle Gazans to America, provide amnesty for people here illegally, and send the message the world over that anybody who wants to come can come anytime for any reason, because 99.9% of you are net positive for the country.
Well, he's a card-carrying member of the radical left, and he's fully supportive of the destruction of this country, because that's what he's recommending. I'm sure he was probably all for the defund police movement. That's worked out really well. That's been such a disaster. Even radical leftists are backing away from that. They don't say that anymore because, well, it certainly didn't help them in the election, and they're realizing it's destroying their cities. Slowly but surely, they're beginning to realize that. But that's unfortunately what almost every policy of the Biden administration. I've often said, if you were asked to devise a strategy to destroy this country, you could not come up with a better game plan than the one being implemented by President Biden and his Democrats. The open borders, the massive 40-year high inflation caused by massive deficit spending, war on fossil fuel, the embarrassing and dangerous surrender in Afghanistan, which has emboldened people like Putin and Xi and the Ayatollahs. Again, America has been weakened dramatically by the Biden administration, and when America is weak, the world's a more dangerous place, and the world's now on fire because of it. So no, the radical left is destroying this country. That's what Americans have to awaken to. They have to open up their eyes. This isn't something that just sort of happened. This has been long-term game plan. The Saul Alinsky rules for radical, right out of Chicago. The taking over of our universities and every institution in this country. They've infiltrated. They've burrowed in to all of our institutions, and they're destroying this country.
I wanted to get your reaction on another topic because you've been one of the congressional leaders on the reckoning for all the COVID response policies at the federal government level. The reckoning that hasn't come, but maybe someday will. You and Rand Paul and a few others on different topics. There's so many to cover under COVID. But recently, Sharyl Attkisson sat down with Mike Ware, who is the Inspector General for the SBA, to talk about COVID fraud in the two programs that were stood up for small businesses. And here's what Inspector General Ware told Sharyl Attkisson.
We conservatively estimated that $200 billion in potential fraud existed in these programs.
That's shocking. I mean, that, I think your report said, means at least 17% of the funds were dispersed to potentially fraudulent actors, more than $136 billion in EIDLs and $64 billion in PPP. So 17%, that's unacceptably high, isn't it, for fraud?
I would absolutely agree with you that it is, especially when you're talking about $200 billion.
And against $200 billion, conservatively, as the Inspector General said, you have DOJ press releases about prosecutions for people that stole $1 million here and $1 million there. It's one of these things where, and this is an underappreciated discussion, underdone discussion about government. Look, I understand I got to pay taxes, and I'm fine paying taxes if it's going for the betterment of some segment of the community, and of course the larger country. But when it's just ripped off by criminals without consequence, it's a bit more unnerving. And certainly we're in the hundreds of billions of dollars of all the money that was printed and spent and drop shipped everywhere. Part of the reason why people are paying higher prices at the pump and at the grocery store now. And there just doesn't seem to be much interest from Washington, with few exceptions like yourself.
Well, this was the uniparty in all their glory. People, you're just talking about the tip of the iceberg in terms of the fraud. Right. The programs themselves are set up with no control. I mean, in order to qualify for PPP, you just had to be concerned that maybe the uncertainty because of the pandemic could harm your business. So then you got a loan that everybody knew was going to be forgiven. So I would say probably hundreds of billions of dollars went into PPP. Well, let's face it, we sent direct payment checks 3 times to over 166 million Americans. And at most, we had in excess, I think, about 17 million more unemployed than was the normal level. And that went down to about a 5 million excess within a few months. So at most, there were 17 million more unemployed than we had normally. And we sent out direct payment checks to 166 million Americans. Again, everybody likes free money. They just don't understand the consequence of this massive deficit spending. That's why a dollar you hold today is only worth 83.8 cents. Now, Biden grotesquely exacerbated that. When he came into office, the pandemic recession was over. Our economy was coming roaring back. There's all those dollars sloshing around the economy, all that pent-up demand. The last thing you should have done is add to it more deficit spending. And Democrats, of course, added trillions of dollars, and that's what really sparked it. We might have gotten by had it not been for Democrats' massive deficit spending spree when they came to office in 2021.
Just on a political note, too, we started talking about the November election. Let's conclude with that topic as well. What's your assessment of the job Steve Daines is doing as head of the Senate Republican Campaign Committee and your optimism about Senate Republicans gaining control in November?
Well, he's working his tail off like Rick Scott did the cycle before. You try and find good candidates, but in the end, it's the people of the states, Republicans in those states, that choose who their nominees are. And sometimes they choose wisely, sometimes they don't. But, we're trying to do everything we can to get a majority. We have to. We can't have Chuck Schumer continue to be the majority leader. He'll continue to do things like, dismiss an impeachment charges against Mayorkas, not even hold a hearing. So we have to win all three branches. We got two branches, but both branches in Congress and the presidency. We have to do that, or I agree with Elon Musk and Trump. If we don't win this November, this nation, it's over.
Senator Ron Johnson, Republican from Wisconsin, of course. Senator Johnson, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
Every day.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
It's almost time once again for the annual AM560 Golf Outing presented by Signature Bank. And this year, AM560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first